Welcome everyone, this is your math tutor Naresh. In this tutorial we're going to learn how to remove brackets and collect like terms. So if I'm given a number positive plus 5, so how do I remove brackets? So the positive 5 is inside the brackets. The question is, how do we remove the brackets? Before we get there, there are four rules that you need to know when we multiply two numbers. So if we are multiplying a positive number by a positive number, the result is positive. And if we multiply two numbers that are negative, so in other words, you multiply a negative number by a negative number, the result is also going to be positive. If we multiply a positive number by a negative number, the result is going to be negative, and vice versa. So that is, if we multiply a negative number by a positive number, the result is going to be negative. So these are the rules when we multiply. So 4, but really it's 3 because the bottom two are the same. So the conclusion here is, when you multiply two numbers with the same sign, the result is always positive. And when you multiply two numbers with opposite signs, the result is negative. So this is what you need to know, and now we can do questions like these. So, and the other thing you should know is let's say if I have a different number 3 and I have a positive in front, there is always and always imaginary 1 right here. So this 1, we don't bother writing it because it's understood that it's there. So when we remove brackets, brackets actually mean multiply. So when I use brackets here, it means I'm multiplying. So positive sign inside the bracket, then another positive sign inside brackets. So these brackets mean multiply. So we have 1 here, and this is actually going to multiply with the 3. So we're going to say, when we remove brackets, 1 times 3 is 3. And then we have a positive here, and I can put a positive here too. So positive times positive is positive. So when it comes out of the brackets, it's positive 3. And then at the next step, I know that I don't need the excess sign in front, so I can just write positive 3. Just simply write 3, and it's understood to be a positive 3. Alright, so now let's look at our original example. So positive, and then we have a positive 5 inside the brackets. So how do we simplify this? We can say, okay, there is an imaginary 1 right here. What I can do is multiply 1 and the 5. So 1 times 5 is 5. And now I can multiply the signs together. What's positive times positive? It's positive. So the answer is 5. Alright, so now actually I can use the same number but with different signs. So what if I have positive and then I had negative 5 on the inside? So we're done with that example. So how do we remove brackets here? Alright, so we can do the same thing here. So imaginary 1 right here. So let's multiply the numbers first. 1 times 5 is 5. And now multiply the signs. Positive times negative is negative. So positive times negative is negative. So here, once we remove brackets, we get negative 5. Now I can change, so I can now, for this example, let's put negative on the outside and positive 5 on the inside. So how do we remove brackets? Again, we can have an imaginary 1 right here, multiply the numbers together. 1 times 5 is 5, and now multiply the signs together. Negative times positive is negative. Negative times positive is negative. Alright, and now our last example. So negative on the outside and also negative 5 on the inside. So how do we remove brackets? Now, again, imaginary 1 on the outside of the brackets. So multiply the 1 and the 5. So 1 times 5 is 5, and now multiply the signs. Negative times negative is positive, right? Negative times negative is positive. So now we don't need the extra positive sign in front. We can simply write 5 because it's understood there's a positive in front. So these are 4 examples, and that's all you need to know. Once you understand this concept, you will be able to add, combine 2 terms or more than 2 terms, 50 terms, infinite number of terms, right? And when we combine terms, and we can also combine terms with the variables in them, and the term known as is called collecting the like terms. So now, before I move on, let me just do one example, a complex one, applying this concept. So I only used one number to get my concept across. Now let's apply this. So it doesn't matter how many terms I have. I can have 1 term, 2 terms, 5 terms. It makes no difference. So I'm just going to make up something. So let's say we have positive plus 5. So I'm going to continue with what we have already worked with. Then I'm going to say plus negative 3 on the inside. And I can keep extending this. I can say, okay, minus, and then I have, let's say, minus 2. And I can add as many numbers, as many terms I like. So I'll add one more. I'll say, let's say, negative, and then, okay, let's use 4. All right. So how do we combine these terms? What's the answer? So here's what we're going to do. So for the sake of getting my point across, I will still use imaginary 1, but we don't have to use imaginary 1. So I don't have to write 1 every time. It's just for this example, I will, just to get my point across. So 1 times 5 is 5. And multiply the signs. Positive times positive is positive. So, okay, I will write positive for now, but I don't really have to write 5. For this example, I will, and after this, I will do another example where I will show you that we don't need, where we can skip the signs. Now this one here, so we have imaginary 1. 1 times 3 is 3. And what's the sign? Positive times negative is negative. So that's negative. 1 times 3 is 3. Move on to the next. So 1 times 2 is 2. And what's the sign? Negative times negative. Negative times negative is positive. 1 times 2 is 2. Now the last one, remember this is negative times negative, it becomes positive, right? Okay, so now the last term, so 1 times 4 is going to be 4, and I didn't put any sign in front of the 4, but it's understood it's a positive sign, right? So I don't have to write it, but here I will write just for the sake of it. So when we multiply the signs, we know. So negative times positive is negative. So this is negative 4. So that's what we get. And now you can see I don't really need this plus sign, right? So now how do we combine this? The way we combine this is we can have all the positive numbers written first and then all the negative numbers together. So 5, the next positive number is 2. Then I can write the negative numbers, so negative 3 and negative 4. And all I have to do now is add all the positive numbers together. 5 plus 2, that's 7. And I can add all the negative numbers together. Negative 3 and negative 4, so that's negative 7. And now 7 take away 7 is 0. So the answer in this case is 0. Okay. So again, it doesn't matter how many terms we have. This is the concept how you remove brackets. This is what you need to know. So now I will do one more example where we can work through a little bit quickly. So now if I have, let's say, 10 minus negative 4 plus 3 minus 7 minus negative 1. Okay, so we're given a question like that. Simplify, collect like terms. So actually I can put positive here. So this is positive 10, so there's nothing there, it's already out, so that's a 10, just like that. And now I'm not going to bother writing the 1 because I know and it's understood that it's there. So let's multiply the sign. Negative times negative is going to be positive. 1 times 4 is 4. And now the next one, so there's a 1 there, positive. There's no positive sign here, but it's understood it's positive. So positive times positive is positive. 1 times 3 is 3. This one here, negative, 1 on the outside. This is positive. Negative times positive is negative. 1 times 7 is 7. The last one, negative, 1 out on the outside. Negative times negative is going to give me positive. 1 times 1 is 1. So once you have all this, right, so now I don't have any excess signs, right, and which is good. Now we want to collect all the positive numbers and then the negative numbers together. Do I really need to rewrite this as 10 plus 4 plus 3 plus 1 followed by minus 7? I don't, right? So we can save time. I can simply add these in my head, all the positive numbers. 10 plus 4 is 14. 14 plus 3 is 17. 17 plus 1 is 18. So all the positive numbers add to 18. And then we have minus 7. So, and if I had more negative numbers, I could have just added them and put my total here. Now 18 take away 7, 18 take away 7 is 11. So that's the answer. Okay. Now let's introduce variables in our, when we combine terms. So to get my point across, why we use letters, why we use variables. So here's the concept. So let's say we have 5 apples. And then you get another 3 apples. So we'll go add 3 apples. And then you get, let's say, 2 more apples. So that's an example. So the question is, how many apples do we have altogether? Well, we simply add them. 5 apples, 3 apples, 2 apples. 5 plus 3 is 8. 8 plus 2 is 10. So altogether I have 10 apples. Right? So there's nothing weird about it. We're simply adding apples. 5 apples, 3 apples, 2 apples, they add up to 10. So 10 apples. Now the question is, do I really need to write apples, 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 apples every time? It's time consuming. So is there a better way how I can represent it? Yes, there is. I can say, instead of calling apples, just let's use the letter A. So this term could become 5A, A for apples, and this could become 3A, and this could become 2A, right? So A for apples. And now collect like terms, collect them, right? So we're collecting A's. How many A's do we have? We have 10 A's, 10 apples. So this is the concept of why we use variables, right? So, and we call these terms alike. So these are alike terms, or also we can call them like terms. Okay, so 5 apples, 5A plus 3A plus 2A. So now you understand the concept. So now what if I had, okay, so I'm going to, so this time let's just say we have 5 apples plus we have 2 bananas and then we have, let's say, 4 bananas, and then, okay, in front here I'm going to say, let's say 3 apples. So now again, collect like terms. What do we get? We will say, okay, we can collect these apples together, we can collect bananas together, we can combine apples and oranges, right? So we have to keep them separate. So 3 plus 5, that's 8, so that's 8 apples. And then bananas, 2 plus 4, 6 bananas. So again, do I really need to write apples, spell them out, bananas, spell them out? So I can simply say 3a for 3 apples, 5a for 5 apples, 2b for 2 bananas, and 4b for 4 bananas. So when I collect like terms, I look at the variable. These are the a variable, the a terms. They're alike, so I can collect them. So 5 plus 3 gives me 8, and because they're a terms, I get a. Now these are bananas, right? The b terms. So collect the b terms together. 2 plus 4 is 6, so we'll get 6b. Okay, so that's how we collect like terms. And actually, what I'm going to do now is tell you what terms are alike. What makes them alike? It's the variable part. So it's the variable and the exponent on it. And the exponent on the variable. That is what makes it alike. We haven't gotten into exponents yet, but we will once we get to exponents. But here I just want to make, since we've learned about collecting like terms, I want to make one point, and that is what makes the terms alike is the variable and the exponent on them. So for example, if I had 2a and then I had 3b, so from both of these terms, none is alike. I can't combine, I can't collect, I can't move forward. This is in its simplest form. Okay. Now, if I have 2a plus 3a, so here I can combine. Yes, right? So these two are alike. Now, if I say 2a to the exponent, let's say 5, plus I have 3a, so here I can't combine them, because this a has an exponent of 1. So you compare the variable part. If the variable and the exponent are identical, only and only then the terms are alike. So if I had, what if I had this? 5 2a to the 5, and plus I had 3a to the 5b. I have a to the 5 in both, but they're still different terms. So the variable part is a to the 5, here the variable part is a to the 5b. They're not the same, so there is no like terms. So in order for them to be alike, the variable and the exponent have to be identical. So for example, one other example, if I had 2a to the 3, b to the 100, plus I have 3a to the 3, b to the 100. I just made some weird exponents, weird letters, just to get my point across. Now the question is the variable part identical in both? Yes, it is. So then these terms are alike. All I have to do is add the coefficients. 2 plus 3 is 5. So the answer will be 5, a to the 3, b to the 100. Okay. So we got a little bit ahead of ourselves, but that's okay. It's always good to learn a little bit more that you will learn in the later units. Okay, so now when we combine, we no longer have to restrict ourselves to just combining numbers. We can combine numbers and variables, and that's what we call collect the like terms. So to collect like terms, so if I have something like this, let's say 3a minus 5b plus 7b minus 4. So collect like terms. So when I collect like terms here, what I do is I go through this and I say what is alike. Okay, the a is by itself, the b's are alike, and this constant term is on its own. So 3a, there's nothing I can do, I will just copy. Now negative 5b and 7b, these are alike. So what I can do is add the coefficients. So negative 5 plus 7, or 7 take away 5, is 2. So this is 2, and they're both b terms, so that's a b. And then minus 4 will get copied because there aren't any other constants, right? So in this case we had 3 types of terms: the a terms, the b terms, and the constant, and that's what we have added. So I think I'm going to close here, and then I'll do a second video in which we will do some more practice questions. So in the end, I want to say, if you found the video useful, please like or subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the second video where we will do more examples, removing brackets and collecting like terms. Thank you for watching.